Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the BFL Footy Show for another week. Proudly supported by McDonald's Ballarat and also Ballarat Toyota. Shawnee, welcome aboard, mate. Another show.
Thanks, mate. Great to be back again.
Show number 3 for the year.
Yeah, I think so. Kind of lost count a little bit with all the different shows we do during the week, but I'll take your word for it.
Another big weekend of action coming up this weekend, mate.
Yeah, it should be a really good weekend. It's going to be an interesting weekend because it's that time of the year where we really start paying attention to the ladder now. First 3 rounds, you don't really pay too much attention to it, but now, especially with the way that this season's shaping, it's going to be a really close season. These games this weekend will start to give us some idea, I think, of how things are going to wind up for the year.
First game, Darley and East Point. Big game down at Darley Park. Obviously, Darley had a loss last week against Redan. They'll be hoping to bounce back. I think at home they're a pretty hard side to beat.
They are, but East Point beat them there last year.
Yep.
That's the catcher to this one. East Point will go in confident in this one. They've had 3 pretty good games this year. They didn't lose to Redan by much in round 1. I think it was 3 goals, and that form holds up pretty well given how Redan have gone in the last couple of weeks, especially against Darley last week. They then won their next 2 in pretty close games. Up against Ballarat was a slog on Anzac Day, and then last week just got over the line against Sunbury. They'll go in confident, but Darley on the rebound also could be dangerous. Depends what happens with Jake Edwards. Went off the ground early last week, didn't come back on. Gee, Shane Page played well last week though, didn't he? 5 goals from the wing. He's in some really good form. And it's good for the interleague selection as well because he's a really important player. And I think if he's playing his best footy in a couple of weeks' time against Bendigo, the Ballarat sort of be hard to beat. Who he played for 3 years ago.
Exactly. Melton take on Lake Wendouree. This game's at McPherson Park. Lake Wendouree had a really good win last week against Sebastopol at their home ground. The new facility with the Wendouree Reserve. You're up there, Shawnee, and so was I. It was great to see. Melton, how do you view their season so far, Shawnee? Are they a chance down there this weekend? Or not?
Look, I think that they needed that bye last week. They were scratchy in the first couple of rounds. They didn't really come out of first gear, I didn't think. As Brad Murphy said, they played 10 minutes of footy in round 1 and got a draw against Melton South, and they lost 3 out of 4 quarters against Sebastopol and still won. So they've been doing what they needed to do. They can have that by retool a couple of things, assess those first couple of rounds. They'll go in red hot in this one on Saturday. It would not surprise me to see them really push Lake Wendouree.
Definitely. Redan take on Ballarat at City Oval. Big game this for both sides. Redan are probably the side to beat at the moment. The way they've started the season has been really good. Ballarat, we all knew that they were probably going to slip a fraction from last year. Obviously, they made the grand final last year, losing a few players, but they've still been really competitive in most games. I think they'll be really competitive again this weekend, but I think Redan will be too strong at home at City Oval.
Tough start for the season for Ballarat. They've had Lake Wendouree, they've had East Point in the slog, and they've had North Ballarat City. They're 3 tough teams to play. They get another one this week in Redan, who are absolutely flying at the moment. And Ballarat will probably be zip 4, but they've been really competitive in each of their 3 games. And but for some bad goal kicking last week, they would have been right in the game at 3/4 time against North Ballarat City. They let North City skip away in the last quarter, though, much to their detriment. Whereas Redan's second half, you saw them in the 3rd quarter against Darley. They were absolutely super last week and really set up that game. Nathan Horbury's a chance to come back in this week. Yeah,
wouldn't it be good to see him come back? We know how important he is. He just uses the ball so well, and we all know that he's played off half back in recent times. But I think with his experience and in him being at the VFL for the last couple of years, I think he'll push to the midfield now and provide a real on-ball option for Redan. At times, he can also sit back behind the footy and obviously set up the forward thrust from the back half. So,
given that he actually hasn't played any competitive footy this year, I think you'll probably find him start behind the ball so he can play off half back, get to read the play, get the feel of the game, and then transition through the midfield over the next couple of weeks, probably after the interleague break.
I'm sure Gilly will just give a player like him a licence as well. You know, you'd be accountable, but he could also go forward and kick a goal as well. So.
Which they're doing this year. They're getting a lot of goals from their running players. Banger Bell's up forward kicking a few, but Nick Willocks has been kicking goals. All these running players have been floating forward and being able to get on the end of a few. Mitch Phelps was fantastic last week as well.
Sunbury take on Melton South. This game's at Clark Oval, a night game, 6:15pm start on Saturday night. Look, Sunbury, you think it'd be too strong here. Their form's been up and down, a bit hard to read at the moment. They had a really good game last week against East Point. You know, only losing by 3 points away against East Point is a pretty good effort for a young team. We know the week before they had a really good win against Lake Wendouree at home. So I think down there they'll be too strong.
Yeah, a few injuries they got last week as well. Apparently finished the game with 1 on the bench. Melton South's form line hasn't been too bad this year. They've had a bye, they've had a draw, and they were only 3 goals down against Bacchus Marsh at 3/4 time last week. If they could string 4 quarters together, they're half a chance here. But look, you just feel Sunbury at home have got too much to play for. If Josh Burgess stays in the form that he's in, he could kick a bag.
North City play on Sunday against Bacchus Marsh at Eureka Stadium. Look, Bacchus Marsh, we know that they played at Eureka Stadium against North last year, and look, I thought they took it right up to North Ballarat City for the majority of that game. And I know that's a years-long time in footy, but I think that they'll be competitive again on Sunday. North City have they're going to be up there, North City. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
It doesn't, regardless of what's happened for the first couple of weeks. They had a really good win last week. They obviously lost in round 1. They're going to be a top 3 side. I think they'll win this game quite comfortably.
Yeah, I think they'll win it too. It'll be a good judge where back a smasher at. They've beaten 2 sides so far. Who we expect them to beat? Melton South and Sebastopol. We expected back a smash to win those games and win them pretty well. They got dusted by Darley on Anzac Day. This one, if last year they came out of the blocks in this game on Good Friday, they kicked the first 5. Well, they're up by 5 at half time. Got trailed away a bit, first game of the season, getting to know the new game plan. They'll enjoy the space at Eureka Stadium to run on. They'll give a good account of themselves. I can't see them winning, but it'll show us where Bacchus Marsh are at this year, I reckon.
It will, mate. And the big round obviously quantifies, if that's a word, with Mother's Day round.
Yes.
Obviously been on the Sunday, and all junior football this weekend is actually on the Saturday.
Yep.
So the mothers can spend the time with their kids and their families. So we'd like to wish all the mothers a very happy Mother's Day for Sunday. We know they play an important role in football these days. More and more females, mothers involved in on committees and it really behind the scenes in the operational stuff of clubs. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and have a great day.
And grab your copy of the record on the way in this week. The special Mother's Day round theme cover this week. We've also got a story on Redan's administrator, Marita Shields, who, of course, her son and daughter both play football and netball for Redan as well. So the Shields family, very active within the Redan Footy Club, and Marita, one of those hard-working mums that helps behind the scenes that make our clubs flow. So get that record this week. Don't forget, every adult admission, the record's free this year, so make sure you grab that on the way in. You pay your $10, you get your record. It's how it works. So just grab one on the way in. If the gatekeeper doesn't give one to you and you give him your $10, just give him a little bit of how do you do and make sure that you get it, okay? So grab it. It's going to be a really good read. Happy Mother's Day to all the mums out there.
Very good, Shawnee. Thanks for the show, mate. You've done a good job as always, mate. That's all for the BFL Footy Show for another week. As you know, the show is proudly supported by McDonald's Ballarat and also Ballarat Toyota. Have a good weekend. Be nice to your mum, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.